suppliers and build local clusters of industries and suppliers instead of sourcing from far away. And then finally, and perhaps the biggest shift we're seeing is companies coming together on new multi-stakeholder collaborations with competitors, with their customers, to address complex issues from climate change to education to healthcare, and also issues like conflict minerals in the supply chain. Now, I'm not sure, some of you probably are familiar with this issue, many of you may not be. So I have a short video to show you about the importance of collaboration around an issue that's this complex. So we'll turn to the video.
Efforts to reduce global warming, to recycling, to improving air quality and managing water responsibly, we know that our actions matter. As a global corporation, we are keenly aware that small footsteps in one part of the world can leave giant footprints elsewhere on the planet. Since our supply chain reaches across the planet, we need to be aware of the impacts of sourcing minerals used in our products. In acquiring these minerals, we affect the lives of people in the communities where they are mined, traded, and smelted. One of those places is the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC is rich with natural resources, but those resources have been used by rebel forces to fund campaigns of violence and human rights atrocities. As a result, these natural resources have been called conflict minerals.
In 2010, we went to the DRC for a visit to really try and understand what was going on. And when we arrived, I was really shocked.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo has rebel forces who are operating the eastern portion who basically are under no control whatsoever of the government and extort the population via mechanisms of rape or illegal taxation to control them to do mining on their behalf.
At the beginning of the project, we considered banning all material from the country. But we quickly came to the conclusion that that wasn't the right thing to do. What we found when we were over there is that there's really only two major industries. It's farming and it's mining. So if we were to ban materials from that country, you would be depriving the local people of one of two of their main sources of livelihood. And we wanted to avoid that at all costs. But we did want to ensure that we still had a conflict-free source of materials.
We're putting in place tracking and tracing programs, and one of the biggest programs is a bagging and tagging scheme referred to as ITSKI. What it's doing is it's putting a tag around each bag of mineral, and that tag is then tracked and traced through a database. That information is then carried all the way to companies like Intel.
During the pilot, it came to our attention that an individual was selling one of the tags that we use to bag the ores to trace it back to the mine. This individual was selling them illegally, and our system was able to figure that out within around a week.
Intel in and of itself is not a large procurer of these minerals or metals, but collectively our industry together create a big fish in a small pond. So we really work together collaboratively on these programs.
I really believe Intel is making a difference with this project. We're the first people to go visit the smelters. We traveled over 120,000 miles visiting over 30 smelters around the world. They were in China, they were in Europe, they were in all parts of the world.
I feel proud that we have leaders at Intel who have realized this issue in their supply chain and have stepped up to take a stance and drive this issue out of existence. That makes me want to come to work every day.
The people that I talked with were really starting to realize that Intel was more than just a company that made semiconductor chips, and that really it was a part of our culture to have this social responsibility and do the right thing attitude. Every Intel employee should be extremely proud of the activities that we've done in this area.
was said in the video, if we had just approached that one issue by ourselves, we would not have been able to have an impact. And neither would have any of the other companies that have also been addressing this, which is not just an issue for our industry, but for other industries. So we've actually been partnering even outside of the tech industry with the jewelry industry, with the mining industry, to share best practices on this issue. So critical is we need to have innovations that are going to go internally. We need to think differently externally. But as we go to the next slide, we also need to think of how do we bring these two together for maximum impact. And some of you may be familiar with the work of Professor Michael Porter and the concept of shared value. The next step that they are looking at with Michael Porter and the group FSG is how the importance of measurement in making shared value strategies possible and a reality. And the key takeaway from that is looking at not just measuring business impacts over here and social impacts over here, but how do you look at them together across the company so that it changes decision making and allocation of your resources for maximum impact. Second, all those employees that you were getting excited about innovation, how do you bring them in touch with other people innovating in different social sectors and organizations outside so that they can share ideas? One thing that we have done in the last year is put things on called hackathons, which are events where you bring software engineers together to solve a problem and develop apps and tech solutions around an issue. So we took our software engineers, brought them together with some of the NGOs that we're working on in terms of education and technology access, and had them work together for a day to develop new solutions. And then finally, we're going to see more and more going forward companies using open source platforms and social media to drive change and awareness around critical issues and leverage their resources. So going to the next slide, as we look at the different issues that we face today, and some of these are becoming much more complex as we move forward, different companies have different ways that they can contribute. And when we think of strategic alignment, you can think of companies having their unique role to play. So having food companies focus on nutrition, having financial companies focus on access to credit and financial stability, having technology companies look at technology access and education. Everyone will have a role to play individually, but also coming at issues from an industry perspective. And then turning to the last slide, I think one of the key things is as we go forward in the next 2 days is think what can we do internally and also externally to drive change. We can do a better job, all of us, in thinking how to better embed CSR into our cultures and engage our employees to innovate in CSR, find new solutions that benefit both business and society. We can focus more on measuring, really measuring the impact and being just as disciplined with our CSR approaches as we are with every other aspect of our business. And we can rethink how CSR can help be a catalyst for social innovation and can help us to solve global challenges around the world. As I said at the start, I think this is a very exciting time to be working in CSR and researching and contributing to thought leadership. We have an opportunity to make significant progress, and I look forward to coming away from this 2 days with some new ideas and ways that we can do that together. Thank you very much. Sawasdee.